So I will be talking about context API as of now. So in React 16.3, in React 16.3, okay, there was a new API. There was a new feature launched, and its name is React Context. Okay, so what used to happen was that React was cool. React was pretty fast. React was very good for uh, manipulating your UI. Okay, it was very fast for manipulating your UI, and you had uh, props, states, component composition, and all those things to build your UIs. Okay, but usually happens is that whenever someone takes a course, they start with pretty much very small application. But when we try to use React in our production application, like building a big e-commerce website or a social media website, at that point of time there are a lot of different moving parts. Okay, so a website may contain thousands of a website may contain thousands of different component that are there. Okay, so if I talk about if I just go to browser once again, and if I open LinkedIn for you people, then this LinkedIn guy has so many things. Okay, so if I talk about, there is this basic notification bar, there is this networks bar, there is this jobs bar, there is this messaging bar, there is this notification, and this drop down is also here. So there are many moving components, like I can click anywhere and it just gives you different features on clicking any of those components, and there is so many things that is going on. Okay, so on the level of application level, okay, so because the application whenever grows large, then you have a problem of complexity. You will be having n numbers of components, and of course these components should talk to each other so that they know how your UI is being changed. Okay, so because of this we needed state management tools. Okay, so what was initially happening, that whenever you want to build a large scale application, because React was here to build large scale application only, but to give interactivity you need to have state, and when you have state there should be some standardization, should be some standardization, so you need some state management tools that can manage your state. So initially the de facto was a library named Redux. Okay, the library name Redux, and React doesn't have before 16.3 version, React didn't have any way to centrally manage your state. Okay, so when it comes to large scale application, React didn't have any solution for that. So in the version of 16.3 they launched React Context API. Okay, so there are some differences between Redux and context that I will be covering. So this was the basic of why we needed state management tools. Okay, so context API is one such tool that partially solves this problem. Okay, so now I will be setting up the agenda, but all the things that we will be covering in this live, and how that will be useful to you people. And I will also be giving a making a basic project like theme switcher. Okay, like if I want to do something like this, is it available from here? View, yes, like this thing. Okay, with you can change the background. Okay, so how you can change the background of any application. Okay, so for a larger application you sometimes have to switch the theme of that. Okay, so how you can do that. Okay, so for that we will be learning React context, and we will applying that thing. Okay, so first of all let's just set our agenda for today's class. So today is the lecture 7. lecture 7 context API. So agenda.md. So what are topics that we will be covering today? So today, first of all, let's just have a basic. What is the need of? What is the need of state management? State management tools. Okay, or some library that used to manage state, because as soon as your application grew larger, then there are n number of components and they need to talk to each other. Okay. Secondly, I will be explaining a problem of prop drilling. What is prop drilling? Because it is pretty much asked in every next interview. Okay. And after that, I will be covering what is the context, just the basics of how context API solves prop drilling. Okay. Then I will be giving a basic example, basic code example through which you can easily understand your context API. Then I will be creating a theme switcher, because it is one of the classic use cases for using context API, using context API. And then I will be comparing other solutions that are older than context API and cover a lot of things, and when you should use those solutions like Redux. So I will just be comparing Redux with context API on a higher level, so that you can easily explain that to your interviewer also, and for your understanding also. So these are the few things that we will be covering. So the first question is answered, that whenever your application grew larger, there are n number of components, and these components should communicate with each other, and there are problems, there are difficulties while managing this thing. And to be precise, the problem that context API solves is prop drilling. So this is the superset of the problem, okay, that you need to manage your states efficiently. Okay. And a part of that problem that specifically is easily solved by context API is prop drilling. Okay. So let me take example of a simple web page. Okay. With that, I will be explaining you people what is your prop drilling. Okay. So let me just go to, so let's just understand this thing. So let me just go and go to sample web page. Just an image would work. So with header and footer, with header and footer. Mm. Okay, so let me just take this thing as an example, or yes, this would work. Okay, I'm not diving deep into it. So what happens is, let's just say this is a web page. Okay, this is a web page. So what happens is, if you want to create this web page, okay, you have to think it into terms of component. Okay, so how do you gonna do it? So at the topmost level, you have the app component. Inside the app, inside the app, if I can subdivide it, if I can group it, then I can tell that this is header, this is main content. I can divide into main content, and this is basically footer. So if you want to understand the component tree, basically how your React code will be organized, so at the top level you will be having an app component. Okay. And then your app component could be subdivided into, just go here and let me just tell it put it as header. Okay, so now you can have header component, main component, and your footer component. Okay, now this footer component, this header, main, and footer. So uh, as of now, I just don't want to add this thing. Okay, now I just want to rename it as uh, icon. Okay, or hero component. That is what we call it. Okay, so inside the header there could be sub component like hero or navigation component, and nav bar could have different options: option 1, option 2, option 3, and so on. And sidewise you can have a content area, content component, a sidebar component, and these could have their own subcomponents. Okay, and you can have a footer component, and inside a footer there could be some links, and inside those links there could be subcomponent. So as you can see on a standard web page there can be large number of components. Okay, and let's say we want to implement a thing, that is, I want to have a theme changer, or I want to switch my website from dark to light mode. Okay, so if I want to, initially if its text is black and I want to make it white. Okay, so before moving over here I want to just come to app first. So let's just say I want to implement and dark and light mode switcher. Okay, so initially let's say we have a light mode. Okay, so this app would have a state of the current mode. Let's say it is light. So in that light mode I want this hero guy to have text of mode to be light, and these guys also to be light, these guys also to be light, these guys also to be light. Light, 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 and light. Okay, so if I want to switch the state, I want to switch light from to dark, I need to send data from app to header, header to hero. In this case, app to header, header to nav, nav to options. And in this case, same, main to sidebar, sidebar to its sub options. Okay, so uh, when you have something that is used by multiple components at the same time, then you have to pass that state, you have to put that, first of all you have to put that state on the top, so that as soon as you change the state here, everything below it re-renders. Okay, why did I put the state at the top? Because as soon as at the top I change the state, your app would be re-rendering. So when the parent changes, it inner children also changes itself. Okay, and if I want to send message from the top to bottom, the problem here is I need to pass it to every intermediate component, even if it wants or needs it or not. And this problem of passing the props to every component in the tree is known as prop drilling. Okay, so the passing of a state of a prop from top to the required component, passing a prop from top to the required component and including the intermediate component. Mediate component is known as prop drilling. So now what you are doing, you are sending the props all the way down. Okay, and in that way you have to pass the props between these guys also. And these guys do not need this header, this nav, this main, this content, this sidebar, this footer does not need your current mode, because it is only used by the lower guys, and this problem is known as prop drilling. Okay, so the problem with React having multiple components and arranging it hierarchical is giving rise to a problem named as prop drilling. And to solve prop drilling, we use context API. So in other words, what it will be doing, it will just help us not to pass this prop to these intermediate guys. Okay, that's all. Okay, so that is the whole point. What is prop drilling? So now our prop drilling part is done. Next, I want to cover how our context API solves this problem. Context API solves this problem. Okay, so what happens with context API? Let me just copy this whole thing, and then I will be. So hope you all have understood the thing. Okay, let me just copy it out, and let me just explain how context API solves this problem. Actually, how it solves this problem. That is the whole thing. That is the whole deal. Okay, so if I just remove it from here, and if I just come here, so what happens is, let's say we have this same tree and we use context API. So context API has two things. First is a object name context. There are, sorry, apologies, there are three things inside context. First is context. There are three things. First will be what is a context. Second, a provider. And third is a consumer, or just a use context hook. Okay, so what happens is, what we need to achieve is, I don't want to pass these props from parent to someone who does not need the prop. I just want to omit this flow, that I just don't want to pass my current mode as a prop to header, but it should be received by hero. Or I just want to pass app to this option, but I don't want header and nav bar to receive them. For that, first of all, we need to create an object that is known as a context object, and then we pass that context object to our provider. Okay, and this provider is now wrapped to our parent component, the topmost component. Okay, so the use case of provider is clear. Provider is used to wrap the topmost parent component that contains that from where your state originates, and to it we pass this context object. This is the context object that is special. And the third thing, use context. If you use context It is basically a hook. Then you can access this context object inside this component without passing anything to intermediate. So what will happen, that inside of the component that I want this thing, this current mode, okay, I can directly use context, and with that I don't need to pass in between these components. So that is the use case of context. So the problem was we need to pass, if there is state that is used by an n number of components, then we need to pass them down the hierarchy. That was causing problem. That's why we chose to use context API. And context API solves this problem by creating a special object, and that special object is wrapped will be wrapped using provider to the topmost component, and the component that want to use that state can easily use using a hook name use context. Okay, let me just give you a example so that you can easily understand it. Okay, so let's just go with it. So for that, mm, hmm, okay, huh. So now let's just create a simple beat app. For that, npm create beat. Need to install following packages: create beat, y, yes, context example, text example, react, javascript, cd context example, npm install. So in a minute it gets installed. That's why as of now I have switched from create react app to it, because most of the things are similar. Now just npm run dev, npm run dev. Let me just open this web page also so that it is visible to people. Okay. And let's just bring it over here so that okay, now moving on, just so inside our src we have these things. So let's just relent finder and just open this guy. Okay. Where is the thing that I need to use? My guy would be here. Okay. So let's just check it to this to the left and this guy to the right. This is the issue with Mac that I find very irritating. So now it has started. Let's just take a simple example. So for this, what I am going to do, I will be creating a folder named components, and I will be using a simple single file. Okay, so just remove everything from here. Just go with your normal context example, h1 context example. Okay, now let this npm run dev over here, cd context example or npm run dev i1. Okay, now I think it is visible to all of you. I just go over here, and I just don't want to center it, so that I would have little bit more area. Okay, so for this, they may have used min height, min width, h1 font size, line height, and the body flexed place item center. Don't want any of this thing. Okay. Now, so let's just see how we can do it. So for first thing that I want to do, it just as of now we haven't done nothing. Just I've just installed the V tab. So now we are coding a basic code example through which I want you to explain how these three things. First of all, how to create a context object. Second, how to use the provider, and how to use context. Okay, these are the things. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going inside my components folder, and I will be creating a simple basic example example.jsx. Okay, understood. Now, uh, I am will be importing React. Next would be, I want to create a simple imrc, or just export function. I want to create a grandparent. Okay, I want to create a component name grandparent. Okay, and I want to keep everything very simple so that you all are able to understand it. Okay, just a second. Hmm. 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 So now when I come over here, this will be returning simply grandparent. Grandparent. Okay, and let's just add a basic emoji if we can. So I just wanna have a basic emoji. So down button wouldn't work. Okay, now inside of that, I want to create certain more components also below these. So I will be having h3, that is a parent. Okay, and now below this, I want to have a children. So the basic context over here is for children. Hmm. So basic context over here is that children is inside parent. Okay, I have created all the component inside a single file. Okay, so that you can easily understand it. So parent contains children, and the grandparent contain your parent. Understood? So this is a basic component hierarchy. So what is happening to it? Why it's not returning anything? Because is there any issue? Okay, because I haven't imported in my main file. So now going inside my app.jsx, I just want to import this example. My basic example. Not supporting today. No issues. Basic example. I removed it from the parent. No, basic, not basic. Just want to input grandparent from dot slash components slash basic example. Okay, now I can just directly put it inside my grandparent. Okay, so we are having grandparent component, and below that I am having the parent component, and below that I am having a children component. Okay. Okay. So now what I need to do is, let's just say this is the component hierarchy. Okay, and let me just also have some emojis, because emojis in Mac shortcut, app, choose edit emoji, simple, open character viewer, shortcut, uh, shortcut, keyboard shortcut, yes. uh, Click on keyboard, control command space, control command space. Okay, now it's here. So with this I want to have some emojis, so I just want to have a down emoji. Yes, just have it in the bottom, and V, V, and now also one V. Okay, so now what we are having over here is, we are having three components. First is your grandparent, parent, and children. Parent contain the children component, and the grandparent contain parent and children component both. Okay, so now if I want to have this thing, then I want to pass some message from the parent directly to the children, sorry, grandparent directly to the children. So that is the whole thing. Okay, now how we can do it? So that is where our context API comes in. Okay, so for that, first thing is to create that object, because there were three things. First is object, second is provider, third is use context. Okay, now let me just do that part also for you people, so that you can easily understand it. So for this I have to create a context object that could be created using React dot create context. So initially it is an empty thing. Okay, and let's say I want to pass something. Okay, like let's say I want to pass something to my children. Let's say my message is greetings, greetings from your ancestor. Okay, or blessing from an ancestor, that I don't want to send to the parent, but I directly want to send to the to children. Let's just see how we can do it. So for that, first of all, create a variable using the context. Okay, then you have to wrap this component inside of a, uh context provider. Okay, so for that, how I can do it, let's just see that thing. For that, uh, let's have, so you usually how it is done. So for that, you will be having a context component or a context wrapper. Okay, or you can directly do it inside of it also, that is your choice. Let's just do it inside of it so that you are not very confused. Okay, so for this, let's just wrap the whole thing inside context, sorry, uh, this is usually in uppercase. Okay, so context dot provider. Okay, and wrap the whole thing, inside of it. Okay, there is nothing strange about it. What I have done, I have just created the object. Okay, then whoever inside whose hierarchy you want to send the message, wrap it inside that guy's provider. Okay, and you have a prop with it, and its name is value. And whatever message you wish to transfer to any of its descendant, you have to pass it using value. Okay, so for that, just pass it over here and just write that message. So deliberately I just did it wrong, I just need to pass it inside that grandparent. Okay, so let me just put it over there, so that it's easy. Okay, going back to it now. Just pass it to here. Now the second step is done. First, I created the object, and with attaching that object dot provider, I just wrapped the grandparent. Okay, now my grandparent lives inside of it. Now, how can I access the same thing without touching my parent? You can see parent just contains its own data. Okay, it does not contain anything else. For that, you have to use React dot use context. Okay, with this I can just simply pass my object, and I can just directly get the message. Const message. Okay, so here I can just directly log it message grand parent says your simple message reading from ancestors. Okay, so it with this example it seems very trivial, but when you use in a broader context, when there are in between n number of components, at that point of time your uh, context usability or utility increasing tenfold. Okay, that is the whole thing. So what I've done as of now, I have done nothing. I've just created an object using create context, and then uh, inside with inside the most topmost guy, I just wrapped it inside a provider. Now I can just skip through any in between component, and then I can directly give it to the guy who actually requires the thing. Okay, so this is a basic use case of context API. Okay, it is a basics, it is simplest example that I could have come up. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's see another example where I want you to teach a simple theme switcher that we can build on a usual web page. Okay, so for this let's just take another example so that you would be easily able to understand it. So for this, I will be creating a component, a folder inside of it, and I will name it web page. Okay, and let's say mm, hmm, create a folder, and I will name it web page. Okay, inside of it, I will be having three components like always: header .jsx, your footer.jsx, and your main.jsx. So let's say we have these three components. Okay, and inside of app.jsx, and I will be having another component main.jsx. Okay, so web page.jsx. Okay, now let me just do RFC for these page, and inside of page I will be having these components, all of these: header, footer, and main. So just a basic RFC would work. RFCE, RFCE, and your main RFCE. It understands all those norms also. Okay, so coming up to my app.jsx, as of now I want to comment this part. Okay, this basic context grandparent part, that basic example part, I want to import my page. Import page from dot slash components slash web page slash page. Okay, and I want to put that component over there. So page is just displaying me page. Okay, it is doing nothing special. So that page guy should be at least be given some thing. some respect. So I'll be just giving it a page. Okay. So inside of that page, I am coming up with these components like header. These should be in uppercase, yeah. Have I put it in lowercase? No, these should be in uppercase. Header. Okay, that was the thing. In yes, put yes. Okay. So one thing is that every component in React based component should start from uppercase. That is the prerequisite. So don't ever miss that. So just two guy head of this, we will be having a header, your main, your footer. Okay, let's just import these three people so that header एक मिनट header, let me just import it from here. Okay, I'm better from it. Import header from dot slash header. Okay, okay. Header similarly footer. Okay, these are some internal property, that's why it is not doing the autocomplete. Damn. Okay, footer from dot slash footer and import main from, I used main. Yes, I've used main from dot slash main.jsx header footer main. Okay, now these things are here. So now my setup is complete, as you can see. Footer is done. Let me go to header. So I'm doing a basic setup so that I can give you a good example for people. Okay, so let's say this is a basic web page. Okay, that contains header, footer, and main. Header, main, and footer. Okay, so let's go here and we'll just bring it down. So every web page contains these three things: header, main, and footer. Okay, let's just populate each of these things. What I want is, as soon as I switch the theme, the dark mode inside of header, the text inside of header should change to white, and the background should change to black. That is what I need. Okay, and same for the footer. Okay, so let's just see how we can do it in a normal fashion. Then I will be adding some features to it. Okay, so for this I will be importing a simple, I will be having a CSS done in any of these things, because when you bundle all of these things, when especially your create React app or this V tab bundles the whole application, you will be getting the same CSS. Okay, so what I am going to do is, I am just going to have two classes. One is light. Okay, light, and this light class, uh, put your font, your color black, and your background color to white. And similarly, I'm just using a basic example for it, dark. So it puts your color to be uh, light and the background to be black. So basic two classes, that is nothing much. and because it will be put compiled bundled up as a single page application, so each of the classes will be available to every of the component. You don't need to uh, import them separately. Okay, because app.js is as of now imported on its own. So let's just write some content inside header, footer, and main also, so that it looks like a normal web page. Okay, so starting with header, what I need to do is I want to have a basic. I want to have basic div, and below it I have some options. Okay, let's just create a component with option, and what I want is I want to have these themes change for this particular guy. Okay, so let this say uh, this guy return return a div initially with a class name of dark, or yes, dark, and I'm saying it option. Okay, so let's just add these options over here. So these are few options that are available for me, and let me just also remove that background color so that it is visible to all of you. Okay, so coming to index.js, I just want to remove the background color and color by default, and is there any background color or color? Don't want any buttons or anything else. It's fine. Mm, color scheme light. Just move this thing. Do I need anything else? App.css, logo, hover, and these colors to be. Yes. As of now, I haven't used any of these classes. Okay, it may be put on the top, so I just shouldn't. App. Okay. App.css. What is the class that is added to app.css? I don't think so. Any class is added to app.css. Dot app class basically, and index.css light dark color scheme. Okay, now it is visible. So these were the three things that they have added, so I just removed it. Okay, so now by default, let's say these are the different things that are available to us, and our header part is done. So as of now, let us assume if I go to my header, these are few of the options that are available to it. Okay, and I can of course pass the uh, basic what are different options that we have in a prop, but I'm leaving for it as of now. It's not brass, it is dark. Okay, so as of now, if I put simple light to it, it's visible. If I put dark, I want the color to be uh, just want the font color to be font want the color of the guy to be black. Okay, so this should be white. Now it is visible, certainly visible. So as of now, I have just set this guy to be dark, and let me just sum up everything. So as of now, what we have done, we have just built a simple web page that contains three component: header, main, and footer. Header, this main, and this footer. And this header contains basically this drop down and these three options, and I have just given dark class to these options. Okay, every option component, and from where this dark is coming, I have just added a simple class named as dark, and I have given the font color to be white and background color to be black, and similarly for light is the vice versa. Okay, And now moving on to my main component. I just don't want to change my main component. Okay, so for this I will be having a simple main component, and inside of that a simple div, and is lorem ipsum working lorem 20. So now I've got some text. Just don't want any changes in this text. Let's talk about our footer also. So footer will be similar to my header component. So I am just directly inside a fragment, empty fragment, and what has happened to it? Footer. Need the options. Okay, that's why it was routing. Yes. So I have this basic example prepared. Okay. Now moving on to my main.js6 or app.js6. I just want to comment this part. Okay. So let's say we have this page. Okay. And this page contains this size, font size. Huh. This contains three things: header, main, and footer. Okay, now I want to implement a simple theme switcher. As of now, what it needs to do is it needs to invert the color of the header and the footer. That is what it needs to do. Okay, so for this, what I need to do is, let's see the non-contexty way. The non-contexty way. So for that, I will be having a state, because of course this thing need to be passed to header and footer. So I need to have a button. Okay, so let's just have a button, and this button should be, of course, at this level only. Button on click, uh, switch theme. Okay, so this is the button. So at on click, I want to have a function with me, const toggle theme equals to a simple arrow function, and as of now console.log I ran, so that I am perfectly fine that this is working. Toggle theme. Okay, so now I'm having this button. Okay, so with this, what I want to achieve is, as soon as I click, the theme should switch. So if I'm here, if I click on here, it ran. Okay, now to change the things, we have to have states. Okay, so to have states, it's very simple. Okay, so import your use state from state from dot slash, sorry, react dot slash. Okay, now let's just put a simple thing, uh, current theme comma set theme equals to your use state, and inside of that just put a simple, by default it would be light, so I will be putting light. So if I want to pass a theme from this page to its options, okay, what I need to do is, I need to simply pass these props one after another. So let me just clear it out. So let me just go to this page guy. Now I have to pass the theme to the children's also. So because header did not require it. Okay, similarly, this guy, this footer does not require it because it does not need to change itself. Okay, but what I need to do is, I need to get access the props, and then I have to just pass the theme like this. theme. Now you can see that I have to pass the same prop over and over. I have to pass this same prop to each chair. So isn't it very cumbersome? Huh? Prop shot. And of course this option would live out somewhere else. Okay. Prop shot theme. So I have to just pass it over and over again and again. So that is the main headache. So that I want to avoid. Okay. Because if it's not avoided, then it is going to give some issues, and of course it is giving a bad user experience also, or developer experience also. So now, what has happened? Of course, I was passing the props, and I just made the mistake. That's why I was telling that you all need to use unquote error. Props is not defined. Where props is not defined, here props is not defined. I have to use every time props and props and props. Okay. So now, what has happened? This theme should be at the top, okay, because header and footers option required this. Okay. And the next thing is, usually these header and these footer will be a larger component that contain more sub component. That's why we have to have this thing removed from here, so that there is no problem doing this. Okay. So let's just see if this thing at least in action. Okay. So set theme. uh, so if current theme is equals to light, then at that time just do just need an if, and that's okay. If current theme is equals to light, then just set theme to dark, and else if this theme is dark, then set it to light. Okay. So this was the whole thing. So now if I click on it, of course these two things changes. But as of now, I have to pass these props to header, then to my footer, then footer to option. So I need to break this chain. So for that, your context API will be useful. Okay. So let's just see how we can do it in action. Okay. So for this, I will be going to my page.jsx, and I will be simply creating. So this theme is declared over here, and just need to pass this theme around, because my page knows how to change it. Okay. So for that, first of all, I will be creating const. First step is to always create context object using react dot create context, and this will be of course empty. And okay, now what you need to do is you need to pass it to the parent. Okay. So what I am thinking is, just need to create it over here, and what you could do is wrap the whole thing inside context object dot provider, of course, provider, and it has a value prop, and inside that value prop pass the current thing, context object dot provider. Okay. So why it is having these issues? Context provider has no corresponding closing tag. Okay. So now with this, you don't need to pass it from here. You can just directly go to your required component. Of course, these would be in the different files. Okay, so I put it React. Of course, const theme will be, of course, usually your create your React dot use context. But one thing more is that you need to have the access of this object, because you need to pass this object to the use context. Only after that it will work. Okay, so for that you need to usually export it. Just import it from here. Const, sorry, import your context object from dot slash date. That is one thing that you need to do. Context object, what is the name of it? Context object obj. Now wherever you want to use it, just put it over here, put it over there. Just now, no props, nothing. You just need not to pass the props now. The point is removing props, removing the use case of passing props throughout the component hierarchy can easily be avoided using context API. So as you can see, as of now, I am not passing not even a single prop. Just that value is enough. Okay, so that is the beauty of it. As the application goes larger and larger, this improves your developer experience, as well as it will help you to reduce your bugs. Okay, to avoid the bugs. So the same thing could be done with my header also. Okay, where are these options? Yeah, I imported it. Just remove these props, because now you don't need any props. Don't need even a single prop. That is the beauty of it. Just forget about when any prop. React dot use context. You get the theme, and you are done for the day. Even now it is having some issues. Let me just tackle these issues also. Context object is not used because I have just used the lowercase of it. Okay, maybe you can just directly click on it. Theme is still not changing. So now you understood that if you don't want to pass your prop to any of the intermediate component that does not require your thing, okay, at that point of time you use context API. And this is the whole lecture around context API. Now let me tell you the actual use cases where you should be using context API. Okay, and then we will be covering the difference between context API and Redux. Okay, so now we are done with the themes feature. Let me just explain what is context API and how we can sorry, not application of context API. Okay, context first. So now the major use cases where you should be using. First is whenever you have to build a theme switcher. Second will be whenever you have to manage the authentication system. Is user logged in or not? Okay, these kind of small tasks should always be done using context API. And one another use case, that is localization. Localization means that if you want your website to be available in different languages, then then the thing that you do is known as localization. So in these contexts you should always be using context API. And now Let's just go over to another uh, state management tool, that is Redux. So before Context was launched, Redux was the only solution, and it is a third party library that is used to centrally. Here, what is happening is that you create a context object and wrap it inside an a parent component, and then you can directly go to the children component. But Redux is more, it is of course older, and it is of course more complete solution for rather more complex state management requirement. Like if you want to implement the user credentials cart, you have to do most of the operations around your e-commerce, like buying, selling, cart, managing cart, all those things, all those complex things where there are n number of states. Because here I am only saving what I am over here doing. I am only saving the hard the work of not passing the props. But when you have a very complex state management, then you have to use Redux. But the downside is it is rather more complex, and it has a lot of boilerplate code. So uh, what you need to do is, in your real time work, you should be using Redux for the parent thing, for managing a rather complex application. And inside of that, if you have something, that some prop that needs to be passed down the layer, and that is not very complex, at that point of time you should be using Context API. So that's all in this video, okay, in this lecture.